Hi there, I'm Diane Sherman, and welcome to this presentation about sacred art journaling as a practice. We are going to do some fun things today. You're going to need a couple of pens and a couple sheets of paper. So before you get all settled in, pause the recording, go get that stuff, maybe make a cup of tea, and then we'll dive in together, and I'm going to share with you how art journaling can be such a rich and deep practice in this time that we're living through right now. So as I said, I'm Diane Sherman. I am an artist, yoga teacher, and creativity coach. And today's presentation is about the practice that I've developed over the last 30 years, melding the practice of creative process and the self-inquiry rooted in the yoga practice. Journaling HeART, this is the name of the method that I've developed, is a sacred art journaling practice. This practice can really support us right now. It gives us a way to express our feelings. It offers us a ritual of self-care. It's an amazing creative outlet, and it cultivates our own inner wisdom. So journaling HeART, that's the name of the practice that has come together by marrying creative play and self-inquiry. And it came about through my own practice using these two methods over many years to heal my own heart. I've had a lot of loss in my life, and so this practice has been very powerful in supporting my own healing. The root of the practice is in curiosity and experimentation, gratitude, loving kindness, compassion, and then the mystery and awe of life. This is how I started out, right? I'm here as a kid. I was always a creative kid. I always wanted to be an artist. And then, as we grow up, reality sets in. I had to get a job in my early 20s that wasn't about art. And I ended up settling bond trades in San Francisco in an investment bank. Throughout my 20s, I was committed to exploring my own creative path. I danced, I wrote, I painted, I drew. I was just on the mission to find my creative expression. And in my early 30s, I found a program called Arts and Consciousness. And at the time, I didn't really even know what that meant. Like, what is arts and consciousness? It helped me work with my inner world and the grief that I had been holding in my life for a long time. The true synthesis of arts and consciousness for me came after I was in a hit and run accident. I was a pedestrian in a crosswalk, and I was hit by a car in 1999. But that led me to a real healing path using yoga and then art journaling as my tools. And those two tools became the pillars of the life that I've created for myself. And that's what I'm going to share with you today, how the journaling practice came about through these two pillars. So let's dive in. Art journaling as a sacred practice. Sacred. I'm going to break it down for us. In sacred, we have self-care. This journaling practice really offers us great self-care. It helps awaken the inner artist. It's about creativity and play. It gives us a way to reflect and renew, to express and to heal ourselves, and then to de-stress. So I'll walk us through these elements of this practice, and you can see how it can be really beneficial to you at any time, but also certainly during our time that we're living in this pandemic. Today, we're going to work with three of my favorite tools. The first is scribbling. Why do I love scribbling? Well, first of all, it gets us out of our heads onto the page. It gives us a way to express our feelings, and we can all do it. Every single one of us can do it. It's easy, it's fun, and it's playful. The second is list journaling. And list journaling, again, all of us can do it. We make a list It's about what's happening either inside of ourselves or outside of ourselves, documenting our lives. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun. The third thing is blind contour drawing. And that's exactly what it is. We draw blind. We're not looking at our page. And it's about the contours of the object that we're looking at. And I'll talk more about that when we do it together. So that's what we're going to learn today. Self-care, let's talk about it. Why do we need self-care? Well, especially now in the pandemic, in this time of intense isolation and constant uncertainty, self-care is a way we can deal with our stress and anxiety. We can work with our loneliness, our unprocessed feelings, and the technology fatigue. And the journal gives us incredible tools for exactly these things. So let's talk about Frankie. I want to share Frankie's story. She is a friend and a businesswoman. I've known her for 10 years. She runs browning beef with her husband, and she's a mother of a 4-year-old son. So you can imagine Frankie's busy. She does not have time for self-care. She's just like, I don't have any time for this. But 4 years ago, she lost her best friend, like her soulmate in this lifetime, aside from her husband, Brenda. And when she lost Brenda, her heart just broke. And she didn't know what to do with all the grief and the feelings and the anger. She had a lot of feelings that were intense and just felt like they were pulling her under. So she decided to work with me and this process. And she said, because I worked with you, it mandated that I create space in my ridiculously busy life to take time for myself. And then I was able to safely express some of the deep and heavy feelings that were stirring in me. And she got to put the rage and the grief onto paper and, write it out and then cover it up and figure out how to deal with these feelings. And because she got a way to get the feelings out of her body and onto the page, she started to feel this release through the process of journaling heart. And so this is Frankie. You can see her with the calf on their ranch. And this is Brenda and Frankie together at a river. And here's her journal page where she says, pursue living. Grief is really heavy for all of us, and it will come to all of us. And having a way to work with our grief helps us navigate this life. So the journal, it sets up a ritual of self-care. When we have a practice to go to, we have a way to de-stress. One of the biggest ways we can de-stress is just the doodling and the scribbling. When we're scribbling and doodling, it takes us out of our thinking mind, it takes us away from our worries, and it gives us a way to get our feelings out onto the page. The journaling practice really helps us also with the feelings of loneliness, because we start to develop this beautiful relationship with ourselves and going inward to know more about who we are. And we learn to not be afraid of being alone. Like, we learn to be with ourselves and our feelings, and that feeling of loneliness dissipates, which can be really important right now. Like right now, so many of us are working with the feelings of loneliness. Then our feelings, like life is full of feelings. We have emotions, we don't know what to do with them. Anger, rage, resentment, grief, uncertainty, nervousness, all of that can get put out onto the page, as well as the positive feelings, love, bliss, joy. We get to express that in our journals. And then the journal is an incredible way to get away from the computer. I know you're watching this on a laptop or a desktop, but we get to move away from the computer and our phones and work with paints and paper and pens, and it gets us in our bodies. So it's a really nice way to get around technology fatigue. The A in sacred is about awakening the inner artist. So Lee is a colleague and a friend of mine. I've known Lee for about 20 years. She's a yoga teacher, a dancer, and a singer. She's very creative. She's very embodied. And yet Lee had this voice in her head that's like, I can't draw. Can't draw. Only thing I can do is stick figures. So she decided to take the plunge and work with me. I prefer the word play with me. So she played with me doing the blind contour drawing. And she was blown away that the process actually worked. She's like, I can't believe that I was able to draw. So this is Lee. You can see the picture of her in a yoga pose. And then this is her blind contour drawing of herself. She did not look at the page while she was drawing this. And so we could say, yeah, it doesn't exactly look like Lee, but you can see she's actually captured some of the essence of herself, her short hair, you know, her earrings, her eyes. And more importantly for Lee, the feeling that she got by doing the blind contour was that the blind contour drawings really expressed her inner sense of how she was feeling. And they did come out with some really nice detail. So Lee felt this practice helped transform her idea of who she was in relationship to creating art. So it awakened that inner artist for her. I wonder if any of you have that voice. I hear it so often when I tell people I'm an artist. Oh, I can't draw, people say. It's a pretty quick response. Oh, I can't draw, I can't do that. And I feel we are all creative. We are all creative. We're creating our lives all the time, every day, every moment. The key about accessing our creativity is that we have to start where we are, and we have to start with the play. And many of us kind of dropped off with art way back when we were 7, 8, or 9. But we can all play and scribble and doodle and start with mark making and color play and find the fun and the joy. And then that is what takes us further into the exploration of, oh, well, maybe I want to develop my artistic skills. So we are all creative. And we're going to do it right now. We're going to just feel that sense of play and creativity. So it's time. Get out your pen. Hopefully you have 2. I often run out of ink in one. Seems like it happens a lot in demos. And your paper. And before we start together, take a look at this little girl in this image. Here's Raggedy Ann. And she represents that inner child to me. So your inner little girl or your inner little boy knows exactly what to do. All we have to do is get the pen, and we're going to start right now together, okay? So put your pen, and I actually like to stand because then I get to move in my body. So you might stand up, and let's just start. Like we'll start with our dominant hand, and let those scribbles come, and let it be from your whole arm. Maybe your body's swaying. Don't think, like literally don't think. You can look up, you know, at the screen. I'm not even looking at my page. Doesn't really matter. Go with what feels good. Like, oh, okay. And again, doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing is just right. You're trying to feel it in your body. All right, and then let's stop, okay? So here's my picture. You know, it's a scribble. Now, I could go in there with color, you know, colored pencils, paints, whatever. But right now, we're just gonna, like, I look at that and it's like, oh, well, what did I get there? What are the quality of your own lines? So that's the thing we want to check. How did you feel doing that? And then look at your paper. What kind of lines do you have down there? Are they swirly? Are they round? Are they angular? Did you fill the page? Were you all over the page, or did you concentrate in a particular area? All of this is about who we are. And we get to kind of read our scribble. So next thing we're going to do is we'll add in a list. We're going to write 10 words, just 10 words. And that list can be about how you're feeling. You just write down the feelings. You might list something that you see in your environment. You might list what's happened today already, or the week, or whatever. But don't think too much, and let's go. So 10 words, add it in wherever you want to. Might be in a straight up and down list, or might be all over the page. Keep breathing. Maybe you even turn your page. All right, and let's stop. So here's my list. I put it inside the scribbles. Like I have breathe and snow, cold, candle. Just little bits of what's happening now. And I'll talk more about this as we go on. The list is a great way to document quickly and without all the need to write the big long sentences in our journal. The C in sacred is about creativity and play. That is a huge chunk of this practice, creativity and play. And what is that inspired by? Well, creativity and play is inspired by curiosity, risk-taking, experimentation, the ability to let go and then start again. Let's talk a little about curiosity. Curiosity is the cornerstone for activating your innate creative play. When you look at kids, they are constantly curious, right? They're always looking at new things because they're learning and absorbing all the time. They're curious about this world that is new to them. Curiosity leads to experimenting. And that's part of what we're doing. We're like art scientists in our journal. We're experimenting. Experimenting leads to risk-taking. And when we take risks, inevitably, some of our experiments aren't going to work out. And so we may go through the process of feeling disappointed, feeling, bummed out. And that's where we have to let go. The process in and of itself teaches us, oh, I did it. I took a risk. I made an experiment. It didn't work out. I have to let go. And then I have to start over. Often we get stuck in the bummed out feeling. And so this is like, no, keep going. Just do it again. Try again. The experiment can be really simple things. It can be trying a new tool, working with your journal, turning it upside down, making new marks. It's about looking at things differently. And the creative process teaches us to look at things differently. We are trying to bring that forth within ourselves. How can I do this in my own unique way? Not trying so hard to do it in our own unique way, but just listening for our own way of doing things. That leads to sometimes looking like the fool. We risk looking like a fool. So here's the fool in the image. And then we get comfortable with holding that archetype that, oh yeah, I'm the one who's going to look like the fool because I'm willing to take the risk and I'm willing to do the experiment. And it might not work out, but at least I've tried. And I do want to share with you all the artwork that you see, unless it's someone's story that I'm talking about. These are all images from my journal over the last 30 years. Rashmila and I met in 2020. She lives in Mumbai. We originally connected on Facebook about 5 years before that. And she is a lovely young woman who is super creative. And she told me she had been using her art in a completely different way. And when she started using the journaling heart practice and working in her journal in the way that I shared with her, she said, I started to find the joy of using my art to just play and bring about joy in my life. And the big takeaway for her, she said, I learned that tuning into my joy needs to be my priority And that was my biggest takeaway from this course with Diane. So you can see her here. She looks pretty happy in her yellow. And here is her spread where she says, sunshine is here because I'm arting. And she totally made up that word, arting. It's like a new verb. And it's so beautiful. You know, she just went right in for her own unique expression through words. The R in sacred is about reflecting and renewing. And that is a big piece of self-care. We need time to reflect and to renew. This spread here that you're looking at says magic potion for life. Well, that phrase came right out of my journal. You can see it on the right side, magic potion, be yourself. And that's what I think we're all striving to do in this life, is just to be ourselves and to be loved and accepted for who we are. The biggest key in that is that we have to love and accept ourselves for who we are. We can't expect that love to necessarily come from outside. That to be ourselves, we have to love and accept who we are. The left side over here, there's a message that I got that says, where are you looking in life? Inside or outside for the answers? And we're often taught to look outside of ourselves for the answers. And yet, truly, for our own unique path to unfold, the answers for each one of us is inside. And we need time to listen for that. So right here, you see the spread totally different. This is artwork from about 20-something years ago in my journal. And this is about listening inwardly. And we need time to listen inwardly, to dream, to vision our own lives, and then to cultivate gratitude for the life that we already are living. And from the life that we're living, that when we spend time knowing ourselves and knowing our desires for the next phase of life, that we can help ourselves manifest that, using the journal as the tool for that. We also need time to grieve our losses. Loss comes to all of us. We lose our parents, we lose friends, we lose our pets, sometimes we lose our children. We, a lot of things. We lose our health, our jobs, our homes. We never know how it's going to come. So grief is a thread woven into this life. And I think of grief as the compost of who we are, that if we learn to turn towards our grief and we make space to feel the grief, then that grief becomes the compost for the richness of who we are and cracks our hearts open to become more compassionate towards ourselves and one another in this world. And then we are able to hold more of this life. We need time to appreciate our journey and just to be. And so just scribbling and doodling in the journal can be a great way to just be and let the world and the chaos and all the cacophonous sounds and pull on our energy just be at bay for a little while we're in our journal. The E in sacred is about expressing and healing. One of the things I have found the most powerful in the art journaling practice, and particularly this process, journaling heart, is that we can actively participate in our own healing using the journal and using our intentions and our words. So I mentioned I was hit by a car as a pedestrian 21 years ago, and I was lucky enough to only break my tib and my fib in my left leg. However, it took a long time to recover. I was pretty bruised up, and I had been thrown like 40 feet out in front of that car. I spent that year healing my leg, not only doing all the things, physical therapy and yoga and eating really well, but I spent a lot of time, as you can see right here, drawing and journaling and sending love to my leg and using prayer and intention to help heal my leg. So my doctor said to me, he goes, well, you'll probably walk well again in about 6 months. And I looked at him, I said, oh, I want to know when I can walk well. I want to know when I can dance. And so I was actually up on the dance floor with a cane, granted, 4 months after the accident. And, you know, very mild, but dance has been my passion. And I was determined to get back to the dance floor. The journal is also an incredible place to work with those deep, heavy feelings of grief. So this image is fairly recent. It was the beginning of 2019. My stepfather had just died. My marriage was falling apart. I was moving to a new place, leaving a home that I loved, helping my mother get through her own grief. And the whole world felt upside down at that time. You can see this image. It's all scribble. It is all scribble. And I remember doing it, and I just kept going over and over and over and over the page, leaving just a little hole of light in the middle of the page. And it was so powerful to get this out and to have it as an image that I remember that time. It was not an easy time, and I made it through, and I in part made it through because I had such a powerful tool to help me get through. The journal here is, again, about expressing those feelings. This is also grief. This is more recent, the collective grief of what we have been going through in 2020. The grief of the pandemic, the loss, the chaos, and you can see here the tears watering the ground. And this image shows how the heart cracks open with grief. And from that crack open, new life can grow, new beauty can grow. As I said, I think grief is truly the compost of who we are as rich and layered human beings. And without integrating our grief, if we just push it away and keep it out at bay, we don't get the rich nutrients that can feed our souls and make us more whole human beings. The D in sacred is about de-stressing. And so the doodling, as I've said, doodling, scribbling, list making, playing with color, the mark making, all of that gets you out of your head, out of your worries, out of your anxiety. When you really drop into the present moment, it just helps you get right here, and all of those things fall away. All right, so we're going to talk about blind contour, and then we're going to do it. Blind contour. What is it exactly? It is a practice of drawing where you're only looking at the object that you are drawing. You do not look at your paper. Sometimes your eye catches the paper, but you're really just focused on the object. So here you can see my hand. This is my left hand. And the other piece of it is that you keep the pen on the page the entire time that you're doing the drawing. So there's no lifting up of the pen off the paper. It's done in just a couple minutes, 2 minutes. And the idea is that we're capturing the essence of what we're looking at. We're honing our observation skills. So that's the contour part. We are drawing the outline of what we see, but not just staying at the outline. You can see here in the hand, I get into the knuckles and the nails. And so we're going around all of those little bits, honing those observation skills to really see more clearly. The practice itself tends to slow us down, and it helps us get more present. So we are going to do this, my friends. So let's get out that second piece of paper, get the pen that works, and we're going to draw our hand just like you see on the screen there. So get your hand in a position that you feel like you can hold for a couple minutes, and we'll start at a point. You're going to put your pen down on the paper, and I actually like to start it sort of in a corner because you want the whole space. And then keep your eyes on your hand, and I'll walk us through, okay? So if you need to, stop and get the things you need, but we're gonna start. So let's put our pen on the page, and I'm starting. So I'm actually starting with my sleeve of my sweater here. And then as you go, think about and just feel that your pen is dancing on the page. It's It's not tight. You want to hold your pen kind of loosely and let the lines flow like you're literally dancing on this page. It's not about getting tight and making it just right. We're just trying to capture the essence of your hand. And see if you can get into the nails there. The nails are always kind of interesting, I think, when we do a hand. And then those lines, right? We all have the lines of the knuckles. So go up and into the lines of your knuckles. Keep going, keep moving. And then remember to breathe. Sometimes I notice I hold my breath. It's like, oh yeah, breathe, exhale. If you go off your page, I did that the other day. It's like, oh, whoops, don't worry. We're just, it's a practice. We're just playing here. We're just trying something out. See if you can get the little folds, you know, those folds right at between the thumb, like the web between our hand and our thumb area. And keep breathing. And we're almost done. Okay. So before we do anything, just take a look at your own picture. First of all, ask yourself, does it look like a hand? Could we recognize that this is a hand? Maybe not the perfect drawing of a hand, but like, oh yeah, that's a hand. I see the nails, I see the fingers. And then how did that feel? How did that feel? Did you feel tight? Did you feel relaxed? Did you feel nervous? You know, just noticing. Again, if this is brand new to you, it might felt like, oh, I didn't do it right. There's no not doing it right. It's just, we just did a little doodle called blind contour on the page. So I'm going to show you my hand. Here's my hand. And I've done a lot of hands. Sometimes they turn out, this one happened to turn out a little more than other hands have, but I never know. But I'm happy with the nails. Like I'm particularly happy with this finger. So that's blind contour drawing. And let's take a look at the pictures here on this page. So the one on the left is Usha. And you can see I've written lists right next to these blind contour drawings. And the blind contour and the list is a great practice when you're traveling or when you just don't have very much time, but you want to get a little something down. So this is Usha. She was our guide in India in 2020. And my list is just of that day: Usha guide, laundry, white sheets, hot sun, heavy iron, Kerala, fishing nets, Catholic church, Jewish synagogue. And just from that, I remember the day. And then over on the other side is the man who was making us all chai. And he just was amazing how he did, you know, the pouring of the chai up and down without spilling any. So that was a really quick blind contour of him and a little list. So it's a powerful and quick practice. So let's just go over the sacredness about this art journaling process that I've developed called Journaling Heart. It's about self-care. It awakens the inner artist. It's about creativity and play, reflecting and renewing, expressing and healing, and de-stressing. So Journaling Heart is a practice that I've turned into a course, and I run it quarterly. So if you're interested in knowing more about it, I would love to have you come and play with me in this course. It is completely online. I'll share a little more about how it works. And if you're someone who has wanted to explore your creativity, it's a great course for you. If you're an artist who wants to reignite your creativity, it's also great for you. It's a super way to establish a ritual of self-care. It's also really incredible for working with the overwhelm and anxiety and all the feelings. Like if you're struggling with a lot of feelings, this is a great practice. It gives you a way and a tool that can be a lifetime tool to work with your feelings. And then truly, if you want a more intimate relationship with yourself, I highly recommend journaling heart as a practice to learn that will serve you for your lifetime. This has been the practice that has helped me and moved me towards becoming my own best friend. So let me just describe the course and how it works. It's run quarterly, and you get 7 weekly video teaching modules. So that means all the lessons are pre-recorded. You can do them at your own pace. They come in 7 weeks. So every Sunday you get a new module. You have the material available to you for a year. So while it's in 7 weeks, you have access to those modules for a year. There are 3 live Q&A calls. These are really great because we get to know other people who are doing this work. We hear their questions. We feel part of a community. They're recorded if you can't make them. The instruction in the course is both about art and then self-inquiry. So I'm guiding you through a self-inquiry process while you're learning creative process art skills. You get downloadable PDFs that relate to the lectures and the videos. So all of that is available to you to download and keep. And we have a private Facebook group that is a beautiful, growing community of people who are doing this work and really inspiring. Like, it's a very supportive group where people encourage one another, and it's a place to post your journal entries and to share the learning process and the insights that you're having. And also to be able to be vulnerable with one another in a safe way. The topics covered in the course, these are some of them. So one of them is why journal at all? You know, why do we want to journal? How to make it a ritual. Then I go into the art skills, which are mark making and color mixing, collage. Then we go to the inner work, some of the inner work that comes through the creative process, letting go, risk taking, cultivating that curiosity, learning to ask your own questions, and then listening for our own inner guidance. We look at our values, not only through, you know, what are our values that we live by, but values as playing with color. And ultimately, we look at gratitude and forgiveness, how to cultivate those 2 very strong practices in life. So if you are interested to work with me and to learn this process so that you can cultivate a deep self-care ritual that's going to serve you for a lifetime, I invite you to check out journalingheart.com. That's where I talk about the course more. It's a landing page where you can read about it. You can read testimonials from other students who've worked with me. As I mentioned, the course runs quarterly, so if it's not open, you can put yourself on a waiting list to get in. And then if you want to know more about me or to send me an email, go to dianesherman.net. So those are my 2 websites, journalingheart.com and dianesherman.net. So I really look forward to playing with you. If you feel inspired and called to this work, I invite you to come. There is not a better time, truly, than now to do this work. We're all being called inward. We're all being called to heal ourselves, to express ourselves, to take care of ourselves. And this practice is about that. So blessings, my friends. Good luck in this time and on your own journey. And I wish you all the best. I look forward to seeing some of you to play with. All right. Bye-bye.